And I've had a number of websites for quite a few years. The first one is greenhomebuilding.com. And then Owen Geider and I started earthbagbuilding.com. And then we developed a blog, which has now become the Natural Building blog, .com, that Owen and I both make posts on. And then I have a natural sustainable architecture plans, home plans website, dreamgreenhomes.com. So this whole constellation of websites actually attracts over 10,000 visitors a day.
And I'm one of those people.
That's good traffic.
So we're getting a lot of, we've made a lot of difference. And this is over the course of over 15 years.
Yeah.
It's in the case of greenhomebuilding.com.
Yeah, I find it very helpful because it isn't about just one type of building. Anything that is natural and sustainable. Sometimes you even visit gardens that don't necessarily have the building. They're just about sustainable food production.
Right. Yep.
So I have found it to be very helpful because it's so broad.
Yeah. So what else can I show you?
Your garden. I want to see your garden.
Totally level from one end to the other, and so any water that runs down into that is retained by it. And we've tried, these are Jerusalem artichokes. These are poblano peppers, and you can see that they're just producing
like mad.
Peppers after. I mean, we've already probably harvested at least 100 of these peppers. And then these are hot Italian peppers. Because I like to make salsa, and
your carrots.
There's
are
a carrot
phenomenal.
bed. There's about 3 different varieties of carrots. About 6 months ago when I put it in the ground.
Wow, so it's happy there.
And it's a legume, which means that it will form nitrogen nodules on the roots. And everywhere the roots spread, it will help fertilize the soil.
And so later this week, we'll be going out to see one of what I would consider the natural building email list. Its real specialty is the alternative building. So you have a sunken earth bag room.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
Yeah, it's a small earth bag dome that's primarily underground, that's made just from earth bags and the local natural soil. And I can talk more about that when we go down there.
Yeah. So we're going to do that later in the week. We're going to stay here longer than we've stayed other places. The weather is beautiful. The area is beautiful. So we're going to stick around here a little bit longer. And so later we'll show you guys this cool underground earth bag building.
Now I can show you a little bit more if you want.
Mm-hmm.
I've done a fair amount of remodeling on this, actually. There's a greenhouse that wasn't there, that's attached to the house, and all of that woodwork, everywhere you see the wood, I rebuilt that. The house itself is an old adobe house that was built in the early 40s. So the house is over 70 years old, and I've completely. I'll show you what I've done. I've refinished the entire building so that you don't see it, but underneath that orange brown stucco is about 1.5 inches of solid insulation. So I insulated the entire adobe structure and then protected it with a standard stucco, and that will allow that thermal mass of all that adobe that are, they're about 10 inches wide. It'll allow that to maintain a constant temperature. It's like having a temperature battery that maintains a constant temperature. So it can get, like last night, it was 36 degrees here this morning when I got up.
Yeah.
And it was still 70 degrees inside.
Wow. That's amazing. And we were in the RV with the heater on.
Uh-huh.
So that, and I think in a lot of houses you would have wanted the heater on.
In most houses, you probably would have. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, these are simple principles that really do work.
Yeah.
I'll show you the greenhouse. I still have some shade cloth on here because the summers here can get pretty warm, and it was just too intense, and we wanted to continue to grow things in here. So pretty soon I'll be taking that off. Yeah, I'll turn this off. So a lot of the plants are kind of dying back. It's time to do some replanting. But the basic structure is designed so that the polycarbonate glazing, which is just a simple plastic, covers the whole thing. The entire roof is the same material. And then I created these insulated panels that have burlap over them that I can shift around and create more or less natural sunlight. And that allows me to configure this greenhouse to whatever is growing here, whatever the season is. For instance, we have a fig tree that's growing here.
It has figs on it. Oh my goodness.
And it's got figs, and we've been eating them.
Oh, fun.
And I'm going to prune it so it'll just stay in here. We've got a little jujube tree that my neighbor gave me, just a little start in the ground, and it's still got one jujube on it, but it had about a dozen. I mean, it's a tiny little tree. And so we've been eating those. And then, other standard plants that, but pretty soon I'll be replanting this for the winter, and we should have, salad greens and a lot of good things to eat in here, because it'll stay at, a decent temperature all year round.
Oh.
And you use your hot tub
Yeah.
to double and add the moisture. That's sort of
Yeah, it's having a hot tub in a greenhouse is a great combination.
Yeah.
Because it acts as a heat sink itself, because
It does.
it's water.
And the humidity, like the heat and the humidity and all of that combined, they like it, both ways. So yeah, it's good.
What a good idea.
And if you need to dry the air out, you've got the stove.
And yeah, that wood stove is kind of an emergency stove that we got. We haven't even used it yet, but we realized that we really needed some form of heat as a backup in here, or if for some reason the electricity went out, the gas went out, our furnace wouldn't work, and we'd want to be able to stay warm. So I got a bunch of firewood and this stove, and we could camp out here
Yeah.
quite happily. Refitted, and it's got a nice little grow space there in the window. I'm just drying some of the peppers up there right now.
But what a good idea. And it probably helps heat in the winter,
Oh yeah,
doesn't it?
yeah. We get some heat from that. You can see some of the produce from the garden strewn around. Another thing I did that would show is that I just put a kind of thermal film on the glass on those two windows that reflects heat in both directions.
Wow.
Because it's old glass. It's
Right.
It's the original windows. It's single pane glass.
Yeah.
It's highly inefficient, in
Yeah.
terms of thermal efficiency.
Retention.
And so I did some research and came up with this kind of a film that's actually manufactured by Eastman Kodak, and it's fairly clear. It darkens the view a little bit, but not enough that it's bothersome, and it reflects just a tremendous amount of the heat. that would otherwise be lost to the outside. And then the inversion of that is that in the summer, when these west-facing windows start to collect intense sunlight, it'll reflect a lot of that heat back out, and so it'll help keep the house cooler as well. Books on green home building. And the first one was this rolling shelter, which was all about the various vehicles that Rosanna and I have lived in. And there's an example of a number of them. The next book I wrote was Remodel Green. Talked about all, and this describes all the stuff that I've done over, during my life. And, I'm almost 73 now. Living in this house is a great example of why it's a good idea to remodel a house or to recycle a house, as opposed to starting all over again and building something new. Yeah. It is the most ecological thing you can do.
Definitely.
Well, that's what our last stop did. Is he's a straw bale builder, and when he got into his own house, he didn't tear the house down. He just took out the walls and put the straw bale back in and reframed it and fixed it.
Saves so much
Right,
effort and energy.
And materials.
resources.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. My latest book is Earthbag Architecture, and it's specifically about
Puppy.
earthbag architecture, and I built an earthbag house up in Colorado that we eventually sold, and so I used that experience plus some of the other, and I just actually signed a contract with New Society Publishing to write a book on earthbag building for them.
Wonderful.
So that's awesome. My winter project.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Ah.
That'll be fun.
That's the finest carrot I've seen.
Okay, so you channel all the water off the roof.
Off the roof, down to...
Now,
We could walk around the house and you could see it.
you watch out with that carrot or a big dog is going to take it away from you.
Our dog used to like carrots too,
Those carrots.
because they're so
When she
crunchy.
was a puppy, she dug up our whole carrot bed and next
That's
to
sweet.
No.
Yeah.
Look at her, see she's wagging her
She's like,
tail.
I want a carrot. Well, that carrot's too
I
big.
don't think she cares about green pepper.
Not a green pepper
Can I get for the end of this?
Eat some more.
I will.
When you
not
get to the
worry.
very end, you can give it to her.
The original bike is a semi-recumbent.
You're making that happen.
That's got to be comfortable, right?
It's very comfortable. It's got a back seat. The motor is a hub motor right there.
Oh, okay.
This is the battery,
So what's your range? Do you know how
about
far-
20 miles.
Good for you. How much was your kit? How much did the
The
kit cost?
kit, the motor, the battery, the controller, and the readout and whatnot was about $1,200.
Yeah, that's about what I spent. on
Half
mine.
of that was the battery alone,
Yeah.
because it's a lithium-ion battery.
Exactly.
And the bike itself was actually probably less than that. It was a new bike,
Yeah.
that I bought just as a pedaling machine. So it's actually still got all the gears and everything. And if I run out of
pedal
juice,
if you
I can
want to.
pedal
You
it.
can pedal.
So this is my man cave actually in here. A little dark, but
Where all
this
the magic
was
happens.
the garage.
Yeah.
And so now it's my workshop. It had a really funky, dilapidated metal garage door that had this much space above it, so that animals were coming in,
Oh, yeah.
and it would get cold in here.
So you
But
framed it
now I built an insulated wall. It's like an 8-inch insulated wall, and the door's insulated, so it stays roughly this temperature because it's primarily underground. Piped under the driveway, and then I've got these series of swales here, and eventually I'll plant this with other, native plants, and so the water will go from here to there, and then when it fills that up and soaks into the ground, it'll go into the next swale.
Yeah.
And it'll just keep doing that. And anything that comes on the driveway itself will be channeled right along here and into that swale.
What a good
So
idea.
all of,
All the
I
water will
doubt,
be
I doubt
saved.
that at this point there'll be any water running off into the gutter.
Yeah, I love
And then
that.
I'll do the same thing up there.